Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for the 23rd session of NileWell Science Wednesday. Thank you so much, our guests, Rahma Ibrahim and Sally from Egypt. Just a minute. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for this session of NileWell Science Wednesday. We are glad to have you. On the call, I can see a couple of our guests. We have Korlik from South Sudan, if I'm not wrong. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Bernard, once again. Wesley Patel, maybe you can just type on the chat box where you're coming from. I think the first time I'm seeing you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Rachel, Chris, and my colleague, Prim. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to start the session today, and we are hosting a team from Egypt. So maybe before we start, feel free to type in the chat box your country, your name, your country, your name, your designation. Are you a scientist? Are you a journalist? And also what you do. And then it would also be nice for you to connect with each of the members on the call. Just briefly type in the chat box. Let's know each other before we officially start. Korlik from Sudan, South Sudan. Thank you so much for being here with us. So I'm going to be your host for the day. My name is Deli Sive. From Infonile. I serve as the communications officer at Infonile under Water Journalist Africa. At Infonile, we cover stories of water and the environment in the Nile Basin. And under the Infonile platform, we developed the NileWell site, which serves as a bridge it serves as a bridge between journalists and scientists in the 11 Nile Basin countries. We came up with a co-production program to encourage collaboration between journalists and scientists as well. And this entails different communication outputs, ranging from podcasts, videos, stories, print stories, social media posts, etc., etc. And for today's session, I'm glad to be hosting the team from Egypt, that is Dr. Saleh and Rahmadia, like I had already mentioned. And the topic for today is Egypt's Tilapia Dilemma. It is cheap, it is plentiful, but polluted. You might be wondering why we are saying all that. And we are going to unpack all this through the story that was done based on Dr. Salih's research. And they're going to delve into how the Egyptian waters are polluted and therefore threatening Egypt's most important food sources and the livelihoods that depend on it. Maybe just a brief preview on what your expectations should be for this session. In this session, you're going to gain insights from the experts and the journalists behind this story. You're also going to explore the science of fish farming in Egypt, water pollution, and climate resilience in the Nile Basin. We're also going to learn new approaches to communicating complex environmental data through storytelling. Like I said before, please use our hashtag Sci Wednesdays. You can also use the hashtag NileWell because this session is courtesy of the NileWell platform, and you can also tag us at Infonile. Maybe just a heads up to each one of us, this session is being live streamed on YouTube and on NileWell. And like we have always done, kindly mute your microphone. You can type your questions in the chat box. If not, please use the raise hand emoji if you need to interrupt midway. At the end of the session, I would have loved to read your questions in the chat box, but I'll give you an opportunity to use the raise hand emoji and ask the questions directly to the journalists and the scientists behind this wonderful production. So without speaking much, I'm going to dive direct into the session. I'm going to let our guests today introduce themselves, tell us a bit about what they do, what their work entails, and then we shall quickly go into the session itself. So I will start with the journalist, Rahma. Maybe you can just say hi, and then please briefly tell us about what you do and what your work is. Yes, hello.
Sure. Hello. Hello, Deli. Thanks for having us today. Hello, everyone. My name is Rahma Dia. I am a freelancer journalist based in Egypt. and I am a media trainer and the founder of the Climate School Initiative. I'm specialized in climate change and sustainability in the North Africa and MENA region. Through my work, I focus on solution journalism and train other journalists on this approach because when we talk about climate change, it's essential to provide some solutions how to adapt and how to mitigate. So this is usually the kind of stories I worked on. And about my initiative, I think maybe I can give you some more information about it later while I present. And I will pass it to Dr. Sally to introduce herself to you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Rahma. And next is Dr. Sally. I'm not sure I'll be able to pronounce your second name accurately, so I'll just leave it as Dr. Sally. Sorry. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about what you do and what your work entails.
Thank you, Deli. Thank you, Primrose. Thank you, all the panelists, and of course, all the participants for being here. I am Dr. Sadi Salah. I am an associate professor at the National Institute of Oceanography and Fisheries, and my interest is water pollution and its impact on aquaculture and health risk, of course. And I've started, I can share screen. May I share screen?
Yeah, you can just introduce yourself and yeah, you can share your screen as well. That's fine.
Okay. Well, briefly, let me introduce to you my work. I graduated from Faculty of Science, and I studied. I have my master's and my PhD in biology, the marine biology, and also I joined the National Institute of Oceanography and Fisheries back in 2013. And I also joined the Arab Academy of Science, Technology, and Maritime Transport as a lecturer at the College of Fisheries and Aquaculture Technology. I also a reviewer editor for Springer Nature, which is a esteemed publisher, and coordinator in the program of Women in Marine Science. It's a women touring program heading to help early career women in scientific research to guide and support. And lately, I've been an ambassador at the Women in Ocean Science. It's a privilege for me to join this network, and we have a lot to do in this initiative. So basically, my research focus is bridging the scientific research to be an applied information. So my research basically in pollution and aquatic health is studying the effect of the contaminants like heavy metals, a pesticide, of course, the emerging pollutants like a microplastic and a pharmaceutical residuals in wastewater, and how it's impact fish health and it could endanger the sustainability of aquaculture and, of course, our health. So my key findings in simple words that pollutants in water can accumulate many times in fish tissues, and regretfully that it can accumulate in every organ in the fish. But hopefully, the good news is that muscles, which is the edible part of the fish, is the least a part to accumulate pollutants. So this is the good news. But eventually, these pollutants can impair the health of fish, affecting all aspects of the fish. But sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, please. You can.
Okay. I think the connection it's having issues. So what I emphasized through my research lately is assessing the health impact of eating this contaminated fish or seafood on our health, and how it could encourage or maybe trigger much health issues. So when it comes to health risk, there are many factors that affect this aspect, like the rate of consumption. And there are individuals who consume fish more than others. So the FAO organization put a limit to an average consumption, which is 56 gram per day. And they stated that more than 150 gram will be too much to consume through one day. So also fish habitat, where the fish is living, are they living behind or beside the shores, the sea line, or maybe the river banks, because there is so many anthropogenic activity and it will release much pollutants, and eventually these pollutants will accumulate in fish. So we have to be aware where we are eating and where the fish that we are eating is coming from. Also, the fish size. Our research have a very conflicting outcomes, because depend on the species. Maybe the smaller fish will accumulate much pollutants than the larger one, and in another fish species, the bigger one accumulate more than the small. So it's a very significant and very important aspect to consider. Also, the feeding habits. Fish live in all the layers of the aquatic ecosystem. So some fishes live in the sediment, others live in the water column, and others live in the surface. So each layer of them had a different level of contamination. So we have to be aware which type of fish we are consuming, because each time you eat fish that inhabit the sediment or maybe near the base or the lining, the bed of the sea, it will be in more risk, because they will accumulate much more pollutants. Also, the seasonal variation and the climate change have a big deal in here, because temperature and the water level, also the chemical and the physical parameters of the water, is a very crucial parameters, also affect the accumulation of these pollutants inside the fish. So also the fish species, as I mentioned before, is a very important aspect in this equation. Also the sex and the reproductive cycle, because the lipid content in the fish, because it become a target for many pollutants, so it can accumulate more as much as the lipid content will get increased. Also, the exposure duration, how long the fish have been experiencing this stress, and how long the fish is exposed to these pollutants, is also a very critical factor. So when it comes to challenges and limitations in our work as a marine biologist, or maybe aquaculture scientists, well, as we all know that the anthropogenic and the man activity also all the time is releasing pollutants, which eventually reach the water bodies. So the aquatic environment is a very dynamic. Also, every day there is something new, so it's very challenging to monitoring this ecosystem. Also, each fish or each aquatic organism has a special way to respond for this accumulation or these pollutants. So it's a very important to consider this factor. Also, the limit of data it's a very challenging, because you cannot have the access for all the data you will need. Also, the detection and the quantification needs a very advanced technology. We have, most of the country and the region have a limit in the fund resources, so this is a big challenge also. Also, the complex effect, because the water or the fish is exposed to multiple contaminants at the same time. So this complex of pollutants, it's way different from the single exposure. So it's another challenge to predict or maybe to detect this a multi-layer or multi-dimensional effect. Also, the policy barriers. We all have laws and, of course, regulations, but the implementation, we have a big defect in the implementation. So my recommendation, simple words, will be to work together, because a global and regional collaboration in aquatic pollution management and research is very important, because it's in a global issue, not just a regional one. So also invest in sustainability, because to integrate modern and innovation sciences, it need money. So we need money. So I think investing in this will be really a good thing, because in the future it will get more money. So also the policy and to make this connection between policy and decision makers and researcher, and also the economy, the community, will be a very good thing to do. So, in my point of view, one of the most important aspects in my recommendation is the public awareness and community engagement. Of course, it remains limited in our region. So, particularly among the marginalized communities and the small-scale fisheries, and unfortunately also the aquaculture producers who lack the access to scientific data, or maybe the scientific data is too complicated for them to understand, especially in pollution impact, and to give them more information about the safe consumption level of the fish that it's in the market. So proper education and communication can limit this or can fill this gap, so we can reduce the risk through reducing the consumption rate from a specific type of fish, or maybe specific area or source. It will be really nice. So in simple words, my big vision is to bridge scientific research and society with sustainability, for fostering awareness and education, of course, innovation. So thank you all for giving me the chance to propose and to talk about my work. And of course, I will be happy to connect all of you. Thank you.
You are muted, Dilly.
Sorry. So thank you so much, Dr. Stanley, for that. Maybe it is important to note that tilapia is not only a favorite in Egypt, it's also a favorite in most of the East African countries, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. So this was a very key topic, or rather important topic for us to also learn. And I'm sure probably some of the issues you have raised we also apply to our individual countries. But one of the key points that I've just picked from your presentation, aside from the pollution levels, is the need for education and communication to ensure that the people are well aware of these pollutants to stop all this from happening. So thank you so much, Sally. So ladies and gentlemen, from Sally's presentation, you have already learned a few things from the research. So out of this research, Rahma worked on a story, and of course with insights from Sally herself, both in the story, in the research itself, and also in person, if I'm not wrong. So Rahma, the floor is yours. Please take us through your story findings, and it's of course also your experience as you are covering the story. The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Dilly. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, as I mentioned before, I will talk with you briefly about my initiative. I founded the Climate School in 2021 to provide journalists in the MENA region and North Africa with free training and Arabic language resources, because the Arabic language resources and the training there is a lake in this training in Arabic language, so we try to fill this gap by creating opportunities to the journalists and creating community to exchange information and knowledge and help and support each other. So this is a brief about climate school. Then I will start talking about the journey of this story from the moment I met Dr. Sally in the co-production webinar or workshop for journalists and researchers within the NileWell project. We met in Cairo during this workshop. For 3 days, we talked together, and we have decided that we will work together on one story. So we started to chat, and Dr. Sally to tell me about her studies and what her main focus areas and the most recognized impact that she found during her research. And after this, after the workshop ended, she shared with me the links for her studies, and I started to read it carefully and to extract the information from it and try to make connection between all this finding to find an angle to write about. And after this, we make a trip together to El Fayoum because there is a lake in El Fayoum, and there is this lake is affected by pollution, and the fish inside the lake is affected by pollution. So we go to the lake, and we make interviews with the fishermen and the citizens in this area to give us some insights about what are they suffering from and how the pollution affected the number of fish in the lake year by year, and how they are dealing with these challenges in their life. After this, I started to complete the story by added some human elements and start to communicate with citizens who are consuming tilapia in their diet in a regular base, because tilapia is cheaper than chicken and meat, so they prefer it as a source of protein, a cheap source of protein, and start to talk to them about the prices, how much they often put, how many kilos, how it costs them in comparison of chicken or meat. So to give to start the storytelling or the narrative by showing how much this fish is important to the Egyptian in their the stop sharing. Can you see the screen, because it's like dark right now?
We can see it.
I was trying to put some human elements to the story and to obtain official data on production volume over the years to show exactly how the production is reducing year by year because of the pollution, and completing sources to start the storytelling. We include some visualization to the story, for example, infograph, and we also shoot a video while we are in El Fayoum Lake. And we recently record a podcast with Dr. Sally to talk about her whole journey, what inspired her in her research journey, what the challenges that face her, and so on. And after this, we published the story in El Ahram newspaper. It's an Egyptian newspaper. What are the key messages? That the tilapia has been a major affordable source of protein for many Egyptian families, especially as meat and chicken prices rose, as I mentioned before. The fish has deep historical root in Egypt, recognized since Egyptian times, duplicated in symbols and ranked highly in Egyptian production. Egypt leads Africa and is among the global top in tilapia production. Fish farming now accounts for the vast majority of tilapia output in the country. Also, the fish farming didn't reduce the pollution because it's a closed system. The fishes in the lake who are move freely, it make the pollution less than the closed system. So there's still a problem also in the fish farming if we didn't take care of the water and the quality of the water. Natural fisheries are under threat because of pollution, as Dr. Sally mentioned in her presentation, which harm fish health and reduce spatial diversity in lakes and the Nile. Also, tilapia is more resilient than many species, but as we mentioned, the least polluted part is the edible part, but that resilience also means it can accumulate pollution in its body, which is a risk for consumer. As fish farming help meet demand and keep tilapia affordable, but farming system, as I mentioned, has its own issues like the drainage water use and the closed system. Stronger enforcement of water pollution laws, regular mentoring of water bodies, and improvement of lake and pond environments are essential for save the fish health and the human health as well. This was the main finding of the story. Thank you. And if you have any question about the story or any question to Dr. Sally, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you so much, Rahma, and thank you for carrying it on very gracefully. We really appreciate that. So first of all, I want to congratulate you and Dr. Sally for doing a good job in coming up with this story. You documented it in a very captivating manner that keeps the audience engaged in the story. So for anyone who'd like to proceed to read the story on the site, feel free to use the link that I've just shared. Maybe you might not want to read it now. You might be interested in reading it later. I have just shared the link. But let me go quickly and start the questions to the journalists. And then for the audience here, in case you have any questions, today I can see we still are within our time. So I'd give you an opportunity to ask the questions directly to them. Just use the raise hand emoji and I'll give you an opportunity to ask the question. So my first question goes to Rahma. So as you, after the co-production session that you had in Egypt, and you also had an opportunity to go through the research that Dr. Sally shared with you, at what point, as you perused through the research, did you realize that this piece really needed to be told?
When I saw and when I talked with Dr. Sally about her findings and that the health of the most popular fish in Egypt are in a risk, and that there is an urgent need to raise awareness of people to take care of the health of the water and to take more procedure to help the health of the and the quality of the water, the lake and the Nile in Egypt. So I feel that this story is very important to try to raise this awareness by telling the story and showing the people that they have to take urgent action to secure the stock of the fish and the health of the human.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So my other question to you would be, did you encounter any challenges as you are connecting the scientific sources, basically what Dr. Sally had shared with you? And did you encounter any challenges basically in connecting the scientific research and the storytelling?
Okay, wasn't my first experience to work with the scientists, so I'm a science and climate journalist, so I'm used to communicate with scientists. So I didn't face challenges in this regard, and we try to work together to try as much as possible to shed light of the result of Dr. Sally in a simple way, in an attractive way, and understandable way to the audience to avoid the specific, the jargon, the details that normal people are not interested. For example, the methodology, the pure science, and to focus on the result and to explain it in a simple way, and also to make people not very afraid, and to tell them what happened, but to tell them that there is a hope, there is a procedures that are taken to try to deal with the pollution in the lake, and to make fish farming to save the fish in affordable price, and to give them information and raise their awareness, but not to spread threaten and to spread make people afraid, but at the same time to make them aware, and to start to think what they should do to secure the health of the most of the popular fish. And also, while we are talking together and while searching, there was a point that this fish, it's not important, a recent important, or the interest of the people in Egypt, not recent, but we have from the ancient Egyptian, this fish was have a big interest, and the ancient Egyptian duplicates it in their template. So I started to think to make the story, the journey of the tilapia in Egypt over the year, not only about the recent studies, but the whole journey of this important and popular fish from the ancient Egyptian until now.
Okay, maybe a final question to you before I move on to Dr. Sally. Did you encounter any surprises? Something you didn't expect when you were reporting, and how did it change your approach based on what you had initially captured on Dr. Sally's research?
I think the surprising thing was the discovery of this importance of this fish from the ancient Egyptian until now. So this was the approach we took to tell the story of the fish itself. And while in the podcast, while we record the podcast, we focus on the journey of Dr. Sally with the fish, and why she interested in that fish, and what is inspired her, what the challenges that she faced in her journey. So we talk about the story of the fish and the journey of the fish, the journey of Dr. Sally, and the journey that we took while we are working on this story. So it's a couple of journeys we are showing during this project.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe you could just, okay, I'll ask you that question later. Let's quickly move on to Dr. Sally. Thank you so much, Rahma, for that. I think that must have been an interesting story to write. The journey of the tilapia, the challenges it's facing, and what the future looks like for the Egyptian population. Dr. Sally, maybe my first question to you would be, in your research, or rather in your presentation, you noted that fish farming accounts for 85% of tilapia production compared to 15% in the natural fisheries. Where are we now seeing an increase in fish farming rather than relying on natural fisheries?
Okay.
Have you heard my question?
You asking that why we depend on farming tilapia instead of the wild catch?
Yeah, like why is the fish farming population much higher? The percentage is much higher. Fish farming accounts for 85% of tilapia production compared to 15% of natural fisheries. So why are we seeing an increase in fish farming as opposed to natural fisheries?
Well, I believe this because of the market demand. The population have been expanding and increasing. Of course, the natural and the wild catch will not compete this demand. So we depend on culturing tilapia and many other fishes to fill this gap. Because fish, as my partner Rahma mentioned, that it's the most affordable source of protein here in our region in Africa and most of the developing countries. So to fill this gap, we need to expand in the fish production, and the answer for this demand is the aquaculture and the cultivation of fish.
Okay. So my other question would be, you noted that there is a decline in the diversity of species and the quantities in these lakes, in the Egyptian lakes and other water bodies. What are you able to help us identify some of the specific species of fish that have declined?
Well, there are so many because, as I've mentioned, that every fish species is responding for this pollution in its specific way. So we can take a look on the production of many lakes, maybe not only the North Lakes, maybe Nasser Lake. In 70s and 80s, the species were more than, I believe, 100 or maybe something like that, but it's been declined since then. Now we're talking about 10 or 20 species. So the only answer for this challenge is the impact of pollution. Also because the pollution is accumulating in the closed system, like some lakes, or maybe the lake that we went to with Rahma is the Qarun and Wadi Rayyan lakes. It's considered a closed system or a closed lake, so the water input is continuing while the release of water is the only pass is evaporation, and evaporation even accumulate the contaminants even more. So because the water content of the water body will be reduced and the accumulation and pollutants will increase in concentration. So some species of fish can mitigate or maybe have a high resilience for this pollution. But being full of fish in one water body, it not mean that the fish experience the best moment in life, because it has a stress. It's under a greater stress. The responses and pathways inside the fish is affecting a big time, but still it can manage to live one way or another. But through time, it will reflect on their growth rate, on their reproduction, their spreading, or many aspects of life. So a fish can mitigate or maybe live in a polluted water body, it not mean that it's safe to be eaten, because they can manage to live, but there are so many ramifications that happen inside it.
That is very notable to say. The fact that these fish live in water bodies does not necessarily mean they're safe for consumption. So I think that should be our take away for every one of us here. And my last question to you,
maybe
Dr.
this
Sally.
will be the next article with Rahma. A new project.
Yeah. By the way, that should be another point to note. And also the journalists here, I would encourage you to take up that and probably find out about the other countries, the other Nile Basin countries. What is the state of the pollution and how palatable are these fish? What are their levels of pollution? And can they be also eaten, considering what Dr. Sally's research has pointed out in Egypt. So you have noted that the pollution rate is very high.
Yes,
Maybe, you want to say something?
Yes. I believe this thing is very important, and a special thing to NileWell and InfoNile that they gathering a scientist and journalist from all over the African countries. So now we can connect more easily, and of course this could be a project from the NileWell or Nile Info for the whole continent. We can share expertise and knowledge, and we can work all together in this project. That will be very good, and we can have, in this case, we can publish one story, one continental story, maybe not regional, just a regional one. It will be great. So it's an invitation, official invitation from you, Delhi, to do this big story.
Yeah, thank you so much for actually bringing that to light. We can actually do a collaborative story on the same across the Nile Basin and even within the African continent. I know, Dr. Sally, you had mentioned this in your research, and also it was mentioned in your report, in the story done by Rahma. Maybe you please let us know, why is it that tilapia is unique? Why is it that it's able to survive despite all these pollutants, and compared to other species? What makes it special?
Well, as Rahma mentioned before, that tilapia had a long history in Egypt. It's considered the most ancient fish in Egypt. So we can see photos on the temples and the ancient Egyptian artifact that they are farming tilapia since the ancient Egyptians. So we have been doing a great deal since then. But on a scientific basis, that a Nile tilapia can mitigate many environmental stressors, like different ranges of pH, different ranges of oxygen dissolved in water, different ranges of pollutants and other factors like temperature and turbidity, many physical and chemical parameters of the water. So the tilapia fish have been had the success and continuing to success many stressful conditions. So that what make the tilapia winning fish here in Egypt and most African countries. And also because Egypt have been doing much work to expand the production. Now we are filling the domestic demand of the Nile tilapia, and even have many trials to export this fish. So it's the most dominant fish here in Egypt and the most affordable. So since the ancient Egyptian, we have been eating tilapia, and we're doing good in farming tilapia. That's why I believe that tilapia is a significant fish here in Egypt.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Maybe let me open the floor to the rest of the audience. Ferdinand, colleague, I saw Bernard. Ferdinand, not Bernard. And then there is Moise. Please feel free to raise your hand, ask a question. Oh, there's Bernard as well. There's Bernard, there's Angela, Jonas, Wesley Patel. Please feel free to ask your questions. Anyone with a question directed to our speakers of the day? Just use the raise hand emoji. I see Korlik has a question. Korlik, please feel free. Just unmute and ask your question. Colleague, we can't hear you. Your voice is very distant. Your voice is very distant, or can you hear her, Sally, or anyone else on the crowd? Not in the crowd, the audience. Can you hear her? Hear him?
No, I cannot hear him. It's very far. Not clear at all. Maybe you can write at the chat box this question.
Yeah. Or maybe, colleague, you could maybe mute and speak closer to the laptop. Yeah, slightly. Put your mouthpiece closer. Could you please put your mouthpiece closer to your mouth?
Can you hear me?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Delegate, and thank you so much, Dr. Sally and the team. Rahma, for the nice presentation. Mine is just a question that is going to Dr. Sally. Yes, we have had a very nice presentation from the PowerPoint that you have shared. I just want to know what is the typical health impacts, or what is the typical health risk that is, comes to the people in Egypt at the cause of tilapia. Since at the cause of contaminated consumption of contaminated tilapia. What is the major risk? The major health risk maybe that has been experienced in Egypt due to consumption of this contaminated tilapia. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sally, you got him clearly?
Yes. I think I get it clearly. Well, pollution is a wide concept because there are chemical and physical pollutants. When it comes to pollutants that interfere the human health, we have several types of maybe lately my major concern is emerging pollutants like microplastics. When the microplastic in the aquatic ecosystem, it had the ability or the capacity to absorb other pollutants like heavy metals, hydrocarbons, pharmaceutical residuals. So when we eat polluted fish that manage to swallow these pollutants, it will reach our bodies. So it will accumulate in our bodies as well. So we here divide the risk according to its emergency to carcinogenic and non-carcinogenic. And as we all know, these are carcinogenic chemicals that have been released into the aquatic ecosystem, which eventually had the chance to accumulate inside the fish. And it transferred to humans as we consume it. So basically, the carcinogenic risk is rates are getting much higher, not here in Egypt only, but in most of the universe or the globe countries, and especially in low and middle income countries, because the treatment, the water treatment plant are not doing much well. It's not a design to get to help the removal of these pollutants. So eventually it reached the water bodies. So it affect fish and transfer to us. So let me say, from the dermal impact, we can have itches, and we have other skin leeches. If you like, the fishermen can contact these contaminants through many ways: through the dermal contact, through the ingestion, through the inhalation, and this all a route of exposures that can affect the human health. For consuming by ingestion, so you have a gastric or intestinal hazard. You have of course, all these pollutants and chemicals will start to break down into other byproducts by the liver, so the liver function also will be affected. So on many levels. Even they found that by research that microplastic can cause let me say that I don't know how to say it in simple words, but to accumulate in arteries and cause to stop the blood from flowing, causing strokes. So this the recent research I've been have access to by pathologists. Also, the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson diseases lately have been related to the accumulation risk of pollutants, especially the micropollutants like microplastics. So also the research have been indicated that the pollutants can reach the babies in mother and pregnant women through the umbilical or the placenta. So it's very dangerous to and very, I don't know, but it's a big concept to talk about. There's so many levels of the risk we have been subjected to through eating contaminated fish, not only fish but contaminated food.
Okay, thank you so much, Sally. For me, cancer is just enough to scare me, and the fact that it can the fact that it can travel all the way to an unborn child, that is enough for me.
You should be aware. It's not to frighten people, but to be aware that you have to be more careful and look for the source of what you eat, where they having them, what is the source of this. So it's simple, and there are simple ways to avoid big risk. Okay, we are in risk from many sources, but you have to work to limit these sources and to reduce this risk. I'm not here to frighten anyone.
That's true. Yeah. Someone will say we'll eventually die at the end of the day, but if we can avoid it, if we can avoid one way or the other, that's better for all of us. Minimize the pain. So I can see Moise's hand is up. Is there anyone else apart from Moise so I can know? Okay, Moise, feel free to ask your question. Moise, please unmute. Okay. I'm not sure whether it was a mistake for him to use the raise hand emoji. So we're going to move to the next part of the session. Moise, once you get back, please let me know. I'll give you an opportunity to ask the question, but I'm going to hand over this part of the program to Primrose. Primrose is going to ask you all questions. For those who have attended, please don't drop out of the call. For those who have joined us before, Caroline Tomno from Kenya has always been the winner of the Science Wednesday questions. But today, she has left the field open to everyone. So maybe just a brief preview before Primrose comes. We are going to ask you 5 questions. Out of the 5 questions, we are going to pick the one who has gotten the most number of questions right. And immediately after the session, we shall send you a small token of appreciation just to appreciate your concentration and your participation in the session. So we hope you learned something. You learned something out of the session. You were able to read the story from the promotions that we sent. And then, that is basically it. So Primrose, maybe you can let us know how they are supposed to participate. And Rahma and Sally, we kindly request you to stay behind and let us know what the correct answers are. Thank you once again, Sally and Rahma. Primrose, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Sally and Rahma. Sorry, there was an echo. Thank you so much, Dr. Sally, and thank you so much, Rahma, for your presentations. So then, like Telly has said, the next session is trivial questions, but that's exclusive of Rahma and Dr. Sally because they know the answers. So you'll just be the judges for this session. Yeah, so there are 5 questions. Feel free to type for the multi-choice questions, feel free to type the answer that you think is correct, A or B or C or D. And if it's one answer question, please type the answer in the chat. So our first questions today is, which organs in fish are the main targets for pollutant accumulation? And all these, for context, all these are from the presentations. Dr. Salih's presentation and Rahman's presentation. So number one is, which organs in fish are the main targets for pollutant accumulation? So I have four choices, so you let me know which one. Number one is the brain and the heart. Then number two is the liver and gills. Number C is muscles and bones. And then D is skin and fins. So feel free to choose A or B or C or D. A is brain and heart. B is liver and gills. C is muscles and bones. And then D is skin and fins. Do you have any answers read in the chat?
We have one from Korlik. Anyone else would like to contest that? The first correct answer carries the day. 2 more seconds. A, B, C, or D. Okay. Prim, what is the correct answer?
Yeah, the correct answer. So colic is actually right. The correct answer is liver and gills.
Okay. Cor has one. Next question.
Number two, which group of fish is more likely to accumulate higher levels of pollutants? Which group of fish is more likely to accumulate higher levels of pollutants? The options are herbivorous fish. Then number two is pelagic feeders. And then number C is fish feeding at higher trophic levels and benthenic feeders. So A is herbivorous fish, B is pelagic feeders, and then C is fish feeding at higher trophic levels and benthenic feeders. So either A or B or C.
First person to get it right. Anyone who wants to challenge Cor, please type on the chat box. Make it quick so we can move faster. Kodlik, would you like to defend your title? Prim, you're muted.
It's time. Is it already time up? Okay, I can see Kolik and Jonas, but Kolik came first, and it's actually C. Okay, next question. List at least 3 factors that influence how much pollution accumulates in fish. List at least 3 factors that influence how much pollution accumulates in fish. Dr. Salih had quite a number in her presentation, but you can just give me just about 3.
Prim, that one seems to be difficult. Guys, please type in the chat box. Moise, Korlik, Jonas, Wesley, Bernard, Angela, Arthur, Ferdinand, Rachel, Sarah just joined us. Please type in the chat box. Prim, you need 3 answers.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have answers from colleague, farming, sewage, and Jonas Kiriko says fish size. Yeah, actually fish size is one of them. So there are quite a number of factors. We have fish habitats, then we have fish size, then we have feeding habits, then we have seasonal variations, then we have fish species, then we have sex and reproductive cycle, and then we have exposure duration. We shall share our presentation so that you can get. Then number 4, let's go to the next. Tilapia is known for its resilience and ability to thrive, to survive in stressful water conditions. However, what is the downside of this resilience? So I have 3 options. Let me repeat the question. Tilapia is known for its resilience and ability to survive in stressful water conditions. However, what is the downside of this resilience? So A is that it grows too slowly, and then B is it becomes less nutritious. Then C is it can accumulate pollutants in its body, posing a risk to consumers. And then D is it loses its natural flavor. So either A or B or C or D. A is it grows too slowly, and then B is it becomes less nutritious. C is it can accumulate pollutants in its body, posing a risk to consumers, and D is it loses its natural flavor. Colleague says C.
You're muted, Prim.
Sorry. Colleague, do you have anyone else? Jonas says A. Rachel says A. Okay, so the answer is actually C. Colic is actually right. It can accumulate pollutants in its body, posing a risk to consumers. And then lastly, this is a question. Okay, the last question is, which famous Egyptian queen was the last pharaoh of Egypt? This is not part of the of the presentation, but it's something about Egypt. So which famous Egyptian queen was the last pharaoh of Egypt? Anyone?
They're going to Google. You make it quick. Give it a timestamp.
Do I say the answer right now, Delhi, or
Yeah.
still waiting?
They're going to type. Just give us the answer.
Okay, it's Cleopatra. The sixth. Cleopatra, yes.
Cleopatra the sixth. Too difficult. Colleague, you got 3. So, colleague, here is my number. Please send me your details, mobile money details. Just a minute, let me type. Please send me a WhatsApp your WhatsApp number with the details of how you can be paid, the mode of mobile money transfer. We shall be able to send you some small token of appreciation. So, ladies and gentlemen, but basically that we have come to the end of the session. But I saw Moise had a question that would like to ask. Moise, do you have a question? Are you available to speak right now? Are you able to?
Yes, I am. Do you hear me, please?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the floor. First off, I would like to thank Dr. Salih and Ibrahim for your presentations. They are actually interesting and I do appreciate. My name is Moise, I'm from Burundi, I'm a journalist. So my question I'd like to ask you, so when the country has limited research, as a journalist, what can you do? I say this because I do remember 5 months ago, I did an investigation. It was a story about the fish in Lake Tanganyika, how they are declining, and the decline in water quality, how fish are affected. So when I reached out to one of the lecturers at the University of Burundi in environment, so he told me that the country now has limited research on that. So I want to know, when you are a journalist, what can you do in such situation? Thank you. This is my question.
Rahma?
Sorry, Deli, can you rephrase the question?
He is asking, he was working on a almost similar story in Burundi, but there was a limited supply of research, or rather he didn't have sufficient amount of research to refer to as he was doing the story. So the question is, in such instances, what can you advise a journalist to do?
It's a difficult
When there is
question
limited
because
research.
the whole story is depend on the research of Dr. Sally, and so I don't imagine if there is not a research what will story will be. It will be just a feature, for example, about the polluted water and asking some researcher about their insights about how it can be harmful, but we cannot be affirm any information or be sure of any information because there is no studies conducted. So it can be a feature to just shed light that there is a problem and we need to investigate in this problem to start to figure how can we fix it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Rahma. Moise, I understand you. And like Rahma has said, it would be difficult to write such a story and term it as a scientific story because it's not really based on science and facts in that particular region. What you could maybe do, like she has, you could maybe look at any government sources that you can be able to find and probably find out from the Ministry of Fisheries in your country if they have conducted any research on the same. If they have not, if there is no available research on the same, then probably just do it as a feature story, like Rahma has explained. Otherwise, that was a very important point to note. But do those stories. If you're able to get the science, even better. If you're not able to, it's also an eye-opener to the specific stakeholders and the scientists in that area to conduct a research in the issues, based on the issues you have just raised. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, you have something to say? Yeah, please do.
Oh, sorry. If there is a limited research on a specific topic, you can find the previous studies where they stopped. What are the outcomes of these studies? And instead, you can search for a case study or in maybe a similar country that to yours that have the same economic challenges or maybe the environmental nature. And you can take from this experience or from their research to provide a future perspectives maybe that you encourage to the research to still ongoing and to focus on this area. You can make like recommendations for researchers to start over their work.
Okay, that is very insightful to note, Dr. Sally. Thank you so much for that. I don't know if there's anyone I have locked out that had probably a question or maybe a message to the presenters of the day, or I don't want to lock anyone out. Colleague, please message me on WhatsApp. Don't type it here because I'm going to lose it immediately. Once I close this session, please type it on WhatsApp. Yeah, we have come to the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate your attendance and your participation during today's session. We don't take it for granted. I encourage you to invite your colleagues and your friends for the next session of Science Wednesday. We are going to communicate it on our social media platforms and on email as usual, so please keep an eye. Otherwise, Dr. Sally and Rahma, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your dedication, and congratulations for coming to the end of your co-production fellowship. So for the rest of us, we're going to remain behind with Sally and Rahma. For the rest of us, kindly unmute and just say a big goodbye as we close today's session.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm so happy to join this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Please say a bye before you log out.
Bye.
Before you leave the call.
Bye.
I'm not logging out, but bye.
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 Bye, Bernard. Bye, Angela. Bye, Arthur.
Thank you, Corley. We missed you.
Bye.
Colleague. Bye.
Okay.